Today we're talking about choosing friends. Choosing friends is one of the most important decisions we can make because who we choose to be friends with has a huge impact on who we are. Paul knew this, and that's why he made it a point to choose good friends. And the friends Paul chose did some pretty important things for him. Like Barnabas, for example. Barnabas was an encourager and someone who helped Paul when he needed it. When Paul first came to the disciples, they were afraid of him. After all, Paul had been their enemy for a long time. They didn't want to believe that Paul was one of them. But Barnabas stood up for Paul. He told the disciples that Paul had changed, and his support of Paul led the other disciples to accept him. Well, then there's Luke, Timothy, and Silas. These men are great examples of friends who were loyal. There are several times in the life of Paul, both good and bad, where these three men stood by him. Timothy would often go ahead of the group to make sure the people there were ready for Paul's visit. Sometimes he would stay behind after Paul left to help the people Paul had just ministered to. Silas was locked in prison with Paul and joined him in singing hymns and praises to God. And Luke, he wrote down Paul's story, found in the book of Acts. And finally, there's Priscilla and Aquila. They were friends of Paul who opened their home to him and worked alongside him in ministry. They were very generous with their belongings and shared with Paul everything they had. Choosing good friends was something that Paul took seriously, and it's something that you should take seriously too. Paul didn't look for the most popular people or the richest people or even the prettiest people to be friends with. He looked for people with strong character, people who practiced generosity, loyalty, and helped out when they were needed. I know that picking friends is a hard thing to do, but you must remember how someone looks or what other people think of them is not a good way to pick friends. You need to watch that person's actions. Are they selfish? Will they leave you when times get tough and being your friend isn't fun anymore? If the answer to these questions is yes, then they are not good friends. You need friends who are loyal, generous, and who will help you out when you need it, like the ones Paul chose. So when you are picking friends, look for these qualities and you won't choose wrong.